You are listening to the Colts Report with Sam Frick and Will Rutherford, and this week with guest Michelle Garmon. By far the most positive tone to any Colts Report yet. Going back and watching the Colts game against the Dolphins on Sunday. Watching it from a few different perspectives. Man, what a performance by that team. A lot bigger challenge this week against the Broncos. We will preview that game on Saturday, and then we will react to the game on Sunday evening late. It is a 4 o'clock game, so it'll be a little later than usual, but we will have the coverage, as always, with Sam and Will.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, Colts fans, to what will be, for certain, at least from me, the best tone of a Colts report yet, because I rewatched the game 2 or 3 times, and there is an awful lot to like. We're going to be evaluating each level of the Colts. The run game, the pass game, the run defense, the pass defense, blocking, coaching, special teams. And guys, I have some thoughts. I am joined, of course, by Sam Frick and Will Rutherford for the Colts Report, and our special guest, Michelle Garmon, to break it all down. And let's start with Sam. Overall, it has to be somewhere in the A range, right?
Well, it has to be an A, right? Because when you win a game 33-8, first week 1 win in the Delore 2013 or so, you got to feel pretty good about that first start. So, yeah, I would give it an A for the Colts.
And, Will, it wasn't just a 33-8 win. 2 completely bogus calls, and the final score is 44-0. And the yardage, at one point, it was like 300-40.
Yeah, it was domination. Complete. The Colts played excellent. They came out firing on all cylinders. They executed their game plan flawlessly. I thought Steichen was incredibly creative in the play calling, especially the RPO game. This was an A+++ game from the Indianapolis Colts.
Definitely an A. I'll say A+ too. I thought they were great. I think this may have been as good and as confident as Steichen even looked on the sidelines calling the game throughout. I thought he was as on top of it, getting things in quickly, which I'm sure helped Daniel Jones with the RPO and reading and all of that. Yeah, it was great. The defense played really well. I am anxious to see how they look the next couple of weeks, because I will say this, the Miami Dolphins, they just don't look good, and they don't look engaged. But I thought the Colts looked engaged, connected, everything, and they did play with a lot of, I know it was an emotional game, they played with that emotion, and that's probably as good as they've looked in week 1 in maybe 2 decades.
I think this is one of the best coached games I've ever seen from an NFL coach. Again, I watched it 3 times. There were only a handful of plays, and it was when the Colts had their second team defense in, where the Colts didn't win the play. They won almost every play in this game. It was incredible. I don't care who the opponent is. And more than anything, I think the Dolphins were confused. I think we're going to find out they're not that bad. I think they were really confused by how good the Colts coaching was. And if I was going to give an A+ in this game, it's to the coaching staff and Shane Steichen, who, as everybody who's listened to the Colts Report knows, I thought was a horrible mistake keeping him. Last year, I said he committed coaching malpractice. That's how bad I thought he was. And he and the new defensive coordinator, Anna Romo, unbelievable how good they were, guys. Josh McDaniel's supposed to be a genius.
I think that they had issues with something was off with that Miami team. I'm not sure what it was.
I think it was the Colts, Will. Rewatching it, I think the Colts are what happened to them.
Well, I think that they disrupted Tua's first read on a lot of plays, and Tua historically has not necessarily been a quarterback that gets through progressions incredibly well. If his first option's not there, he kind of sputters a little bit, and that was just simply what happened. I think you saw the loss of Jonnu Smith as far as the safety valve in the middle of the field for this Dolphins team. That was obvious to me. Tyreek is not the Tyreek of 2 or 3 years ago. He's just not the same player. Waddle was out for a time. And A-Chain, for everything that he is, he's still not in that elite encompass of running back. He's a good back, but he's not a great back. And I think that it just came down to the front four. One, you talked about winning. We talked about you were harping on the defensive line kind of in the summer and stuff, saying they were okay. They're not just okay. They are very good. Buckner and Stewart are stalwarts inside the A-gaps. They create havoc.
The coaching changed, my opinion.
Yeah, they played the linebackers. I mean, you didn't even think there was a weakness in the linebackers, which unfortunately will get exploited at some point. But it was not this week, and
I think
hopefully it's not next week.
I think they have a plan, guys, and I think that is to interchange Kwity Paye and Latu as outside linebackers and defensive ends, depending on situations. And it's not going to work in pass coverage if those are your guys. But they're also playing a lot of 5 and 6 defensive backs. So they might have found a good combination, and it was fantastic on Sunday. It might get exposed, you're right. But I think we now know why they didn't upgrade at linebacker, and I think that's because they had a plan on defense. Man, I can't believe this is what I'm saying.
It's easy when Kenny Moore was all over the field. He is an incredible nickel. He showed why he gets paid to be the nickel that he is. I think that there was not a place for him in Gus Bradley's defense. For whatever reason, they just couldn't work. But I think that his ability to just kind of play free, especially with the addition of Ward on the outside, that helped free up him not having to guard a one receiver. He was able to play his natural position, and he feasted. He was all over the field. He made plays, and that was huge.
Well, you said you linebacker real quick. I'm going to go back real quick. They did bring in one. The addition of Joe Bache, who had played 4 years in under Anarumo's defensive system, has made a difference. Zaire Franklin was talking about it, how much of a big plus it is because he is a communicator too. So the whole defense is on the same page. And, and I think you could tell that because, I mean, Greg, you watched the film. I didn't go back and watch it, but the Colts had very few missed assignments. When you can have that kind of communication, wow.
Since we're starting with praise, I want to go to the offensive line, and I'm going to say something else that I never thought I'd say after this game. Guys, on this Sunday, the best 2 offensive linemen for the Colts were Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonzalez, and it wasn't close. They didn't miss a single block that I saw. They made great downfield blocks. Both times the Colts scored from the 1-yard line, they went off of Gonzalez on that side. It was super impressive. This could be the best offensive line in football. I can't believe I'm saying this, guys. I'm blown away by week 1 because I see the skeptical look on Will's face. As I said on Sunday, the Dolphins might not be good, but their defensive line not only is good, but it's deep. At least it's supposed to be.
In theory, it is deep, but I think the big challenge coming up with Denver is going to be they're going to have to protect the quarterback better, particularly against the pass rush, because Denver, they had a heyday in week 1. They had 12 QB hurries and 6 sacks in that contest against the Giants. So that's going to be a big challenge going into week 2. But I would say right now for the offensive line, pretty good start so far for the Colts. Can they do that against a much better defensive front? I think that's going to be the big X factor going into week 2.
Bernhard Raimann really struggled. He had a rough day on that side. I do not think he was healthy. In fact, he came out late in the game, right? But he had a rough day, and Braden Smith was really good most of the day and had some really good downfield blocks, but also allowed some pressure.
Raimann was also going against Bradley Chubb.
True.
Let's not forget that Bradley Chubb, when healthy, is an elite edge. I mean, that's fair. I think Gonzalez played well. He did have a couple holds. that's got to get cleaned up a little bit. Holds are they were able to circumnavigate that this week, but those are penalties, especially against a stingy Vance Joseph defense coming to town in Denver, that you just can't afford to make those type of mistakes. I thought that run blocking was incredible. They really allowed Taylor time to find his gap, find his hole, and then get upfield. Giddens looked great behind the offensive line. There's a lot to like. And Greg, I'd like to take a victory lap because I've been telling you all offseason that this offensive line was going to be better than what anyone thought. And that is, if Ballard has one thing that he's good at, it is finding offensive line talent.
After a brief technical difficulty talking about the receiving corps.
This week on the postgame show about how Warren was such a game changer, not only for his blocking, but for him adding that depth at the wide receiver position. I talked about this during the season, how I was optimistic about the wide receiver depth of the Colts, especially if we can get the quarterback thing figured out, because we got guys like Pittman and Warren, and obviously JT can get involved in the passing game, and Alec Pierce and Mitchell, yes. Mo Ali Cox occasionally can get a catch here and there. And I think, to me, Warren I think he is the glue of that passing game and the blocking game, if you would, for the Indianapolis Colts. If they can get that consistency out of him, I mean, we're talking about Rob Gronkowski potential upside for the Indianapolis Colts. And we haven't had a tight end like that. And I don't know if we've ever had a tight end quite like this. So I'd be excited for that.
John Mackey in Baltimore, the last great Colts tight end.
No, Dallas Clark. Do not forget Dallas Clark.
He was good. He was not great. He was good. He was not great. He was never close.
Greg Manning would disagree with
Tyler
you,
Warren
Greg.
is right now. He was never close to as good as Tyler Warren is right this very minute. Never close.
I would say this. I would say that Tyler Warren can surpass him, but he's not Dallas Clark yet. It's one game against a Dolphins team that I think is going to be lucky to win four games this year. Let's see him against better, tougher defenses. I do think Warren has got the potential to be really, really great, but don't downgrade Dallas Clark. All right, I'll tell you what.
We saw it at Penn State. We saw it.
Asked how great Dallas Clark was.
Yeah, Peyton Manning was the reason Dallas Clark was good. If he hadn't been drafted by the Colts, I'm not sure he ever would have been. And his 4.9 40 would have been probably not very helpful to most franchises. But he was very reliable, and Peyton loved him.
Respectfully, Michelle, Tyler Warren is the best football player on the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes.
He is the best football player I've seen as a rookie. Brock Bowers is an incredible tight end. He's an incredible Tyler Warren's a football player, and there's just a difference in that phrase. And he just looks the part. I have no fear at all about him going up against the number one defense. And I don't know if there's anybody that can really stop him if the Colts scheme him up the right way.
By the end of next year, he'll be the best tight end in the NFL.
And can we all just put a little respect on Michael Pittman's name? Like Michael Pittman is still a very capable wide receiver. He is. He plays to Daniel Jones' game perfectly. I think you'll see Michael Pittman feast in the way that he did with Phillip Rivers, with Carson Wentz, with Gardner Minshew. Is just a possession receiver who is able to make plays happen. Warren and Pittman, I think, are tailor-made to Jones. And I just like their run RPO game was just flawless too. Like when they have it all rolling, I think they're really tough to stop with the RPO game, especially with Taylor, Pittman, and Warren all being threats to take the ball to the end zone.
You know,
guys, we might be overreacting by beating the Dolphins a little bit.
Well, you know
but
what?
They looked.
Yeah, but I'll agree with Will on Pittman. I think Pittman is a better fit with Daniel Jones because Pittman is a good route runner and a lot of our timing routes. Richardson just wasn't, he wanted to be a pocket passer, but he had a tendency to move his feet a little bit or be slow on reads. You can't do that when you're running precise routes and when you're running timing routes. And I just think that, yes, I think Jones and Pittman are on a really great page, and Warren is gonna be Jones's best friend this year because he is strong and he is a good target. And I'm not saying I didn't want to downgrade Dallas Clark, but I do think Warren right now, heck, he's got the after week 1, he's got the inside scoop on Rookie of the Year.
There's some awfully good challengers, but man, he is going to have some big numbers. And no doubt, Michelle, and I think everybody on this podcast said it, if they want to win this year and they want to get in the playoffs and win the division, Daniel Jones is the better option. I think everybody agreed with that. Unfortunately, I think a lot of us aren't happy with just winning in the division and being the 7th best team in the AFC.
Well, they could have had Josh Allen if they had not drafted Quentin Nelson. You know that, right? So, I mean, I think I would rather have Josh Allen than Quentin Nelson, by the way.
Thanks, Michelle, for bringing that one back up.
Josh Allen doesn't turn into Josh Allen. Josh Allen doesn't become Josh Allen in Indianapolis. It's like you can just.
I don't know. That's
not even close. Not even close.
You're probably right.
You see what happens when the Colts can't develop quarterbacks. Peyton wasn't really a developmental project. Andrew Luck was probably the closest thing to an NFL-ready quarterback that there's ever been. He was excellent his rookie or the first game he played. So I'm fine with that draft pick. Hindsight's always 20/20, but
And as part of a great offensive line, it works. And I think they're on their way to that. We'll see. Again, Denver's going to pose a lot bigger challenge to that. All right, Will needs to go, but before he does, we need to evaluate Daniel Jones. And your evaluation of Daniel Jones, Will?
That was maybe the best game I've seen Daniel Jones compete in his NFL career. He played really well, under control, poised, calm in the pocket, delivered a good ball, was just the engine kind of that kept the team going. He was steady, very low heart rate, very calm under pressure. And that's great and all, but there is going to be a point. There is going to be a point where Daniel Jones is going to get exposed. And this week might be the week for that. The mean will always be reverted back to. You're not going to see this version of Daniel Jones every week. The Broncos already have a week of tape up now to watch the Colts, to game plan, to study. They're going to have a game plan set up to try to take away his strengths, which will be applying pressure to him because he's historically been a bad quarterback against the blitz. But you can't complain about how he performed on Sunday. You just kind of, I think, have to do it with rose-colored glasses and understand that Daniel Jones isn't going 22 of 27 for 260 and 3 total touchdowns every week. That's not going to happen.
Of course it's not. But if that line's as good as it looked, he's going to be clean a lot. And when he's clean, he's athletic. He's fairly accurate. They call him Danny Dimes for a reason. He's got that pretty good arm. He can be successful. I just think the best he takes you is, worse than half of the AFC.
Well, look around at their schedule. They're going to play some tough teams.
Oh, I know.
They're playing the AFC West is there, and quite frankly, Houston's defense looked awfully good in that Rams game. Their offense struggled. Jacksonville's defense looked like it had Bryce Young throwing fits in Jacksonville. I think Tennessee's defense made Bo Nix look rather human, which is something that we have not seen. He doesn't, but
put his last 2 games together. Get it back to me.
He still completed a higher completion percentage than half the league, so I think that you'll take that for what it's worth. He threw a couple picks. The Colts just have some tough defenses they're going to have to play against, and Jones is going to have to get comfortable with that because you got 6 games with good defenses in the division. You've got to play the AFC West. All of those teams are good defenses, and that's something that has to be considered when you think about it. They might have played their easiest game on the schedule week 1.
Definitely could have. Will, thank you so much for joining us. We will talk to you on Thursday evening on Strictly Biased with Will Retherford. Everybody check that out. And guys, after that performance, I can't wait for Sunday to see how they stack up against the Broncos. More than anything, I'm really curious about what we saw that's fool's gold and what we saw that's real. And the fact that they get to come back against a Denver team that has one of the best rosters in the NFL. Again, I think Bo Nix is a detriment, and I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because of him. But they have one of the best rosters in the NFL. And we will talk more about that on our Colts Broncos preview, guys. Thank you so much. Final word?
We're really excited about the season so far. Want to know the beginning of the season. I know everybody's excited about that win. I just want to say we got to be very careful about overreacting too much in one game. We got to be very careful with overreacting too much. But we can always say what we saw in week 1 shows you what we're capable of if we can keep it up for an entire season. And the big thing is staying healthy, which I hope we can do so in week 2.
I agree. Staying healthy is going to be key for the Colts on both sides of the ball, especially. Yeah, you can't overreact. Hey, I know, I'm a Packers fan. They look great against the Lions, but I'm not overreacting because that was week 1.
You should. You should overreact. They're really, really good.
I know, but I'm just getting that you just can't because we don't know what the future holds. If everything goes right, that's is going to be key. And so, Sunday the
I thought the
Broncos will.
Packers won the NFC before they got Micah Parsons.
Yeah, he makes a huge difference on that defense. They got guys to go with him.
He's elite, man. Speaking of which, I guess we should bring up the fact that there are some rumors out there floating in the ethos that the Colts are targeting Trey Hendrickson, Sam. That would make a difference.
I've heard that, and this has been kind of out there for a while with Trey Hendrickson, and Cincinnati has been kind of in an awkward scenario where we didn't know if Hendrickson was going to be able to play at the start of the season. There's been holdouts there, and yeah, they got him a contract, but it's only for the rest of the season. So this is going to kind of linger a little bit throughout the season, and it may become a distraction for the Bengals. But if we're able to acquire the rights of Trey Hendrickson, we'll talk about one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL. He is an elite pass rusher. One of the big reasons why the Bengals have had the success they've had in the last few years, especially that run to the Super Bowl not too long ago when they faced the Rams. So if we can get a guy like Trey Hendrickson with the depth we have in our pass rush, putting Leatu an outside linebacker, and then the secondary we have a lot of gamers in that secondary with Kenny Moore there leading the way, we have a Colts defense that can do some great things. But right now it's just rumors. You got to just wait and see what happens with the situation with Trey Hendrickson's camp, and if we can acquire his rights, that would be amazing right now.
Guys, I did not think Saturday afternoon that on Tuesday evening I would be this excited about the Colts.
I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting it either. But at the same time, I did say going into the season, and I think Michelle can back me up on this too, we did say we think the Colts may come in the season with a different sense of expectations. Nobody's talking about us. And it can certainly have a difference on the season, having that underdog mentality as opposed to being the favorites. And I think maybe on top of Jim Irsay's tributes on the Ring of Honor, I think a lot of those factored into that game as well.
I think that Ring of Honor did do that. And the fact that so many Colts greats were back. You get excited when like Peyton Manning and Edgerrin James and Marvin Harrison and those guys come back and are around. You want to prove to them that you're worthy of wearing the Colts uniform and have the success like they did. I think it'll be interesting. I'm going to go out here and say if that Trey Hendrickson deal goes through or however it goes, we're going to kind of have an idea, I think, of how good a negotiator and how good football operations person that Irsay's daughter, Carly, is.
Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. Can't wait to talk about the Broncos a little more this weekend.
Yes, can't wait.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.